Chapter 1. Layla, duck! Layla's head dipped just in time as a large empty seashell flew over her head. She looked up to see three little beautiful mermaidlings giggling. They scurried off quickly when she scowled at them. Sighing with a small smile, Layla returned to filing her double-edged fine steel sword. Aquaira hadn't gone to war in centuries, but Layla found a certain peace and solitude in methodically caring for her weapons once a week. Her sole desire was to be an Aquaran warrior. The third child and only daughter of King Acha III, Layla had 5 brothers and a doting father to protect her. But she took pride in being able to take care of herself. She had warrior blood running through her veins after all. Now, as she sat filing the katana her first brother had given her during her debut into society, she couldn't help but reminisce on how not only her family, but the entire Aquaira had been forced to accept that their princess wasn't a frail, weak girl. Layla was born under the ocean in her home, Aquaira. It was a rich city amongst the other 7 cities that made up the entire Mer Kingdom. Popularly called the Apex City for its wealth and affluence, Aquaira was built in a giant bubble like all other Mer cities. It was built with the most beautiful things. Because of the air inside the bubble, the merfolk were able to breathe with their lungs and walk with their legs within the bubble. But, whenever they left the bubble into the ocean, they morphed into their natural form. Layla had always been fascinated with weapons. As a child, she always managed to cut a hole in her dress while playing with a knife or dagger she stole from her father. After a while, though, her mother gave up dressing her as a girl and just wore her pants instead of a dress. With the new pregnancy, her mother gave her more freedom, which Layla took advantage of to indulge her interest in the art of weaponry. She befriended a young soldier in the palace, the only swordsman who could rival her first brother's skill. Despite being a few decades older than her, the friendship blossomed as he honed her skills and made her into an excellent swordswoman. Layla! Layla looked up and around as she heard her name, and then she saw a flash of red. She smiled. Behind you! The redhead turned around and grinned at her. I was thinking of sending out a search party. Her young soldier friend walked up to her. Hi, Jace. Layla smiled up at him. She always enjoyed his company. Jace stood over her and drank in the sight of her. She had piled her long white hair on top of her head in a messy bun, and she wore simple cotton gray slacks and a plain black tunic. She looked nothing like a princess, except for her natural grace, which was common with mermaids, and her powerful aura, which told you of her blue blood. But the grace and power did nothing to hide the fire that burned in her eyes, a fire that reminded Jace of his own mother. How are you? Jace sat beside her and took her file from her. I think the katana is sharp enough, Jace said with a lopsided grin. Layla threw back her head and laughed. Her laugh was strong as the woman herself. What are you doing out here? She folded her legs underneath her and carefully sheathed her sword. Jace picked up a rock. The Festival of the White Waters starts tomorrow. He looked over at her. Do you have your supplies ready? Layla looked lost for a moment, and then she started. Oh, how could I forget that? I love the Festival of the White Waters. She groaned and plastered her palm to her face. I only have a few hours to pack. She hurriedly got up and started gathering her weapons while Jace laughed at her.